Hey, this is Deb, and you are watching my Untold interview.
Hey, what's going on, Big Dad?
Hey, how are
I'm
you?
good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, let's dive right into it. Who are you? Where you from? And give us a little backdrop of your story.
So, I grew up in South Philly.
hmm
I lived on top of a store that was actually my family's business. So, my childhood was a lot more different than any childhood that you might hear about someone that grew up in South Philly.
Okay.
I actually never met my father. I have no clue who that man is, and I never had any siblings. So, if you want me to be honest, I didn't have a lot of guidance growing up, and not to make excuses, of course. So, a lot of things that I had to learn in life were through trial and error, many errors to be exact. But, I don't like to say the words, I'm a good person or anyone's a good person, because if you ask somebody about me or three people about me, you're going to get three different answers. And that's what anyone you know. You
Right.
ask somebody an opinion about a person, you're going to get three different responses, three different personalities. So I like to say I have good intentions,
Okay.
but I'm misunderstood and I've made mistakes just like any other human being, right? But unlike some people, my mistakes have been put on display for people to ridicule me. So, I had a different outcome of a lot of people that lived in South Philly, but I embrace it.
Now, I always tell people South Philly is its own world. You got North Philly, you got Southwest, West Philly, Northeast, Germantown, Kensington, but South Philly have a world of its own. South Philly is one of the my favorite places in Philly, and I'm from Germantown, but South Philly is one of my favorite places. That I've lived in Philly. So give me what was your upbringing?
Well, honestly, South Philly's amazing. It has its pros and its cons. Whenever people ask me, what was it like to grow up there? I've been trying to come up with a word to describe it for years, and I've been unsuccessful. You can't describe it, but the best way to put it is you either fit in or you don't.
Right.
South Philly is almost like a mini cult. If you don't fit that standard that people want, you're automatically isolated, you're automatically different, you're a weirdo, as a lot of South Philly people would say. And once again, I've always tried to embrace being that weirdo, that outcast. And especially, I find that when people are bold and they stand up for what they believe in, people don't like that. And the thing about South Philly is when you are disliked and when you're different, you're going to know it. And people are going to make sure that you know it.
Now, earlier you said that you lived above a store.
I did. It was different.
Okay. Now, did that store? Did your folks own that, or that was
Yes.
okay?
So my grandmom and my grandpa actually owned two stores. They owned that one, and actually, not two stores. They owned that store, and a few blocks away, they had a saloon. And the saloon was not around when I was born. My grandpa was the one who ran both. He passed away way before I was born. And finding more about my family history, I'm putting together the pieces and finding out why these things happened. And there was a lot that happened between my family, and there's a lot of mystery behind it. But we just had that store, and I grew up there playing store with my friends. We had unlimited snacks and chips and cookies. It was amazing. And you want to think that, right? But I actually got made fun of a lot at school because it was different, right? When you're, like I said, when you're different, people automatically want to bully you, make fun of you, make you feel like something's wrong with you. And I had a great childhood. And it's funny because even though we were poor, or even though we owned a business, we were poor, excuse me. And I didn't know that. But kids at school started pointing out these things to me. And it's kind of like they made me think something was wrong with me. Like, they started pointing out that I lived on top of a store and they all lived in regular houses. And I never thought of that. When you're a kid, you just know what you know. And that's when people started questioning, we never see your dad pick you up from school. And they were like, where's your dad? And I'm like, that's a good question. I never thought about it. I have my mom, I have my grandmom. I never had that thought. So yeah, kids in school definitely pointed things out to me that led me to eventually being sad and taking the anger out on my mom and my grandmom at home. And I remember one day at school, a girl told me, you know, my mom doesn't want me to come over to your house because your mom does drugs.
Now, what would make them say that?
Well, because, you know, I wanted to have friends just like any other kid. And we were just talking about, you know, hanging out, having a play date. And because I lived close to the school, I was like around the corner.
Okay.
And that's when the girl was like, my mom doesn't want me to hang out with you. Your mom is on drugs. And I didn't know what drugs were. I knew sometimes my mom looked different and acted different. I didn't understand why, but I knew I didn't like it, but I still loved my mom. And I don't want to take away from what my mom has done for me. She was amazing. She loved me very much. She just struggled. But yeah, if that paints a picture, kids definitely started changing my perspective on life.
Now, what school did you attend?
So at that time, I went to what was St. Paul's. They actually closed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny you mentioned that. So my mom actually went there for middle school, as well as many parents in that neighborhood. And I remember being at the protest. They were going to close the school. And it was very sad for the community. It was St. Paul's, so I'm a part of St. Paul's Parish,
Okay.
which is right across the street. But now that school is, I believe, a charter school. I don't know if it has changed, but it's right on 9th and Christian.
Yeah, that's the charter school.
Yeah, but
right around the corner from Geno's and everything.
yes.
Yeah, that's the charter school.
So my mom was very upset, as all of our families were raised being in Catholic school, going to church, all of that jazz. And then it turned into a charter school. But my mom was like, we'll give it a shot. We don't have to pay tuition. It's right around the corner. What do you think? I'm like, okay, whatever. Most of the kids that I went to kindergarten with were going to that school anyway. So I ended up going to the charter school. First year was fine. And then the second year, that's where I think everything that led me to where I am now kind of started. So I went pretty much through most of the year, and the teacher had changed our desk arrangement. It was like we were in the front, and it was like almost like a half of a square type of thing. It was weird. But I was sitting next to a girl, and believe it or not, that's when I was sexually molested during class.
This was when you were in elementary?
Second grade.
Okay. Now, when you say you were sexually assaulted, right? Was that by a class member or a staff?
So it was actually the girl that I was sitting next to. And it's funny because usually when a woman or a girl says that they were molested, you assume it's by a man. Women, girls, they're just as bad. You can't label it. Yeah, it was by the girl sitting next to me. She started touching me, like through my stockings, like she was directly touching me. And I said we were right in front. I can't believe my teacher didn't catch on. And obviously, I was young. I didn't know what was going on. But I knew it was wrong. Something didn't feel right. And I'll never forget, I remember her looking at me and saying, "Do you like it?" And I just said, "Yeah," because I didn't know what else to say. And then she was like, "We're going to do this tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay." And that's when I got picked up by my mom, and I told her immediately, and she was like, "What?" And she like drugged me home, threw me in the bathtub immediately, washed me, called the school. Long story short, the school didn't really care much to do anything. So my mom took me out of that school. The teacher cared. He was very upset. The principal, the school district, they were like, "You could leave."
Now, after you told your mom and your mom approached the school with the matter, as that little girl at that time, what's going through your mind right there?
I think I felt more bad for my mom. My mom was very emotional, and she would really just, like I said, she was like, "What?" Like I was my mom's only child, her baby, the reason for her being alive. I felt more bad for her because I could just tell that it wasn't going the way she wanted it to, and I almost felt like a failure, to be honest. But we got through it. We got through it, but I'm sure it really messed her up. Who expects that?
Right. And at that time, was therapy in, on the menu for you?
Can you say that again?
Was therapy on the menu for you? Like, did your mom, try to get you, into therapy after that?
So back then, therapy was not common.
Right.
It was not, and I wish it was, because that also ties into the fact that my mom was never able to get help with her addiction and her depression. Times are different now. There's so many resources available, thank God, because life is lifing. But back then, nobody talked about therapy. Nobody talked about getting help. It was just kind of like, you gotta be strong, you gotta keep pushing. So no, but also my mom was very big on, "You have me. You have me. I'm not going nowhere." And she stood by that, and I knew I always had her, but I really didn't have her for as long as I thought I would. So that's unfortunate.
So fast forward after that. So obviously mom took you to another school. What was the school that you attended?
They they really didn't care. They Long story short, my mom was like, "You're going to a new school."
Right.
And I was, maybe a week later, I was in a new school. And I know that that girl still went there because there's a pizza place, Lorenzo's.
Yeah, I know
Right.
Lorenzo's on South Street.
Yep. No, not South Street. Not on 9th Street. You never had that
I
one?
never had that
That's
one.
the OG Lorenzo's,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
It's so good. I grew up eating that, but it's on 9th and Christian.
Okay.
And so we would get pizza there a lot and cheesesteaks. We used to eat there like 3 times a week. But I know that the girl was not kicked out of the school because a few months later we were there picking up food, and there was like a little arcade game thing, and you could pick like the different games. They had like Tetris, and you remember the little monkey
Yeah.
game with the barrels, and you would
Yep.
Yep.
Growing
So
up,
I
that's
would
what it
play
was.
that. And I was playing it, and the girl came in, and we made eye contact, and I froze. And she was in her uniform, so I know that she was not kicked out of the school. So if that says enough.
Now, when you seen her, what's going through your mind? Was there anger? Was there fear?
I crapped my pants. I think it was more awkward than anything. But it took me a very long time to understand my emotions. I think I just figured that out recently, to be honest. It was awkward. It was not comfortable, but it was her, and she knew it was me. So yeah, it was weird.
Did she make any contact with you?
No, she walked away. She walked right out. She didn't even come in the pizza place. Like, she walked in the door, and the game was right there in the doorway. She left. I think she knew not to come near me.
Now you in this different school. How are you making out in there?
I had some trouble making friends. I think I was a very quiet kid, and I just wanted to fit in, just like any other kid. You just want to be liked. And you tell me, when you first start school, what does a parent say to their kid when they're first starting school?
Make new friends. Have a good day. Things like that.
You're going to make new friends. So that's like, it's almost like a goal you set. It's something you're looking forward to. And then when you're not, you almost question, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't anyone want to be my friend? So that's when you start trying to be like everyone else and fitting in so that people like you. And I think that's something that I did for a very long time. And that's going back to what I mentioned earlier. South Philly just has that energy where people follow the crowd. And there's one thing, a follower is a follower, but you know what else a follower is? They're miserable because they're living through someone else's shadow, and they're not staying true to themselves. It's miserable. And for a long time, I didn't know who I was because I was just trying so hard to be liked by people who didn't matter.
In this new school, you didn't hit it off with making, new friends. You felt a little, I would say, out the loop of everything. Didn't feel a part of, I guess, the cool kids or the kids itself. Um, you're learning there. Like, was the teachers good? Was the school good? Things like that.
It was decent. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard about Catholic school education. It's not the best, especially later in life when I went to college and met people from other states or other cities. They definitely have a wider range of vocabulary than I do. They know more things. I think Catholic school really limits it to the theology aspect and the religion. They don't focus on bettering us as human beings, teaching us finances, how to grow as people. It's like, love Jesus. So I think I was neglected a bit education-wise, middle school at least. Now, I eventually did start to make some friends, if that's what you want to call it, put it this way, I've always had places to go and people to see. I've had a select few that were solid throughout the years, but they come and go, whether it was my fault or something they did, or, things just happen. People move, or they move on. They find different friends, or stuff happens. So I was never really able to keep solid relationships. And it was just really difficult. I felt alone most of my childhood. So I eventually ended up going to another school.
And now this is in middle school, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was 6th grade. My mom's like, I found you a better school. And they were very involved with academics and music. My mom had a connection. And once again, fresh start. It was rough. Automatically was like, I'm not fitting in. And that's, at this point, we're in 6th grade. People are starting to have their first kiss. People are starting to have their little boyfriends and girlfriends. Girls are wearing thongs now. So it's a different vibe this time around. So I'm like, Mom, I need stretch pants. I need yoga pants. I have these stiff khaki pants. No, I'm getting made fun of. I need some nice tight stretch pants to show off my butt, And my mom goes to buy me my first thong, and she's explaining to the people that work there, it's so her underwear don't show. She's trying to validate why she's buying me a thong. So I did whatever I could to fit in, designer bags, Coach bags were a big thing. And I was always getting bullied about my shoes, my clothes. I didn't have nice things. We shopped at thrift stores. My mom would take me to Payless to get my shoes. Once again, I was ignorant to it all. I was happy. I knew I had a mom that loved me and wanted to take me shopping. But kids at school had to point out that I didn't have the stuff that they were wearing. So then once again, I'm going back home, taking it all out on my mom. And that's a huge regret that I have, because now as an adult, I know how hard it is to afford things. So yeah, I don't feel good about what I said to her.
Said to who?
To my mom.
What was that?
I mean, I would pretty much take everything out on her, that she was a bad mom. She wasn't doing enough. It's just because I wanted people to like me. So I knew she felt bad, but I know she knows that I didn't mean it and that I was just a kid. But she didn't deserve it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, she didn't deserve it. My mom was great. And she worked really hard. So, but when you're a kid, you don't know. You don't know how much things cost. You don't know the pressure that you feel trying to make ends meet. And when, my mom wasn't married, she didn't have many friends. Coincidence, right? But she loved me. I was her everything. And I could only imagine what it was like coming home, and she's excited to see me. And the first thing I'm doing is telling her that she's a failure. So I regret it.
Growing up, your father wasn't present. Do you feel that if your father was present, that your childhood would be a lot different?
That's a loaded question. I've played with that a lot. Who's to say it would be good, right? You want to imagine it would be. Then that brings in a whole nother pool of problems. Cheating, fighting, divorce, abuse. Who says that my dad was a good person? I have no clue who he is. Not a clue. I have ideas of who may be him, but I'm pretty sure those aren't who it is either. I truly think my mom walked into a bar, picked the cutest guy she saw, and popped the condom. If you want me to be honest, and I don't judge her for that, but I think my life just had to be the way it was. I think I got the most unconditional love I could have, and I could carry that with me forever. So, yeah, I always play with the idea of what if my dad was around, but it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Um, we spoke on a situation that took place in school. Do you want to talk about that?
Can you say that again?
We spoke about a situation that took place in school with you and some other students. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So now, okay, at this point, I'm at the new school. Let's go to, how about we go to 8th grade where it got bad.
Okay.
So as I've mentioned, it's just been a pattern of me trying to fit in, me trying to be like everybody else, not getting the results that I wanted. I was always in and out of friend groups, always in drama, no matter how hard I tried not to be. So come 8th grade, right? I'm a virgin. I kissed guys, but that's as far as it went. But, you got people talking about sex, you see the movies, and all of that. And I mean, to be honest, my first sexual interaction was with my best friend, who was a girl, in like 7th grade. I thought I invented 69. I'm like, you know what would be cool? If I got on top of you and then, you're under me. And I thought I was smart and invented 69. But yeah, if you were to do some shit with your middle school friend at home, you probably have some vanilla sex now, just saying. But yeah, so that was my first sexual interaction. But moving forward to 8th grade.
So you saying your first time was with another female?
Yes. Well, we did the oral. We didn't scissor, or no fingers were inserted, but we did the oral. That's it. We would kiss. Like, girls would play house as much as they wanted to, deny it. There's so many girls that played house. And guess what? They wanted to be the husband. I'm telling you, a lot of them. They wanted to be the husband.
And this is in 8th grade?
Between 6th and 8th grade, I played house with a lot of friends, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it started with humping. Between 5th and 6th grade, it was just humping, dry humping. And then that was my first time when we actually did something, was 7th grade. Me and my friend 69'd. And we did it often. We did. Part of me felt like she might have had a crush on me, which is why we ended up not being friends a year later, because she was getting jealous. But that's not something I want to really focus on. It's just a thought. So, but yeah, basically, I think I was groomed at a young age to believe that sex was cool, that's what you had to be doing. And from like being molested at a young age and then everything that led up to 8th grade, that's kind of what I thought. Sex was what you had to be doing. You watch movies, you know, you want to be like them, you know. So I started talking to a boy in class.
Okay.
And he would mention sexual things online. And he brought up blowjobs and stuff. And I didn't really understand it. I had to like kind of ask my friends. That's how much I didn't know about these things.
Now, what year was this? And what
8th grade. So 2006.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I only remember that because like this little rhyme we used to say. We used to be like, girls like guys, guys like chicks. Hey, we the class of 2006.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
But so yeah, we would talk about sexual things online. I didn't know anything about that. And long story short, I wanted him to like me, but I also wanted to be cool like everybody else. At this point, I knew people that had sex. I had friends that had sex, or at least had oral sex. I wasn't the only one, put it that way. And I knew people that had experience. So this guy is saying like, okay, well, you're going to give me a blowjob this day after school. And I'm just like, okay. So we go and he takes me in the fire escape. And I have no clue what I'm doing. And he was kind of trying to tell me what to do. But it was probably the worst. But I was a kid. And he took a picture of me. But it wasn't in my mouth. It was just kind of there in my face. Like I was kneeling on the floor and it was just kind of in my face. And then he like showed me the picture. Mind you, this is like the time of the sidekick. So the picture quality was not great.
Now, did you know he was taking a picture, obviously, right?
I knew after he took it.
Okay. And when you found out that he did take the picture and he showed you?
I said delete it.
Okay.
I'm like, delete it. And I'm trying to grab the phone out of his hand and he wouldn't. And he said that he would. So, mind you, I'm dating this guy. Whatever you want to call dating in 8th grade, right? So, a few more times it happened. And he kind of taught me how to do it properly. But in between all that, he also met my friend who blew him. And they tried to have sex, but it didn't happen because, it wouldn't go in and it hurt, and they just didn't do it. So once again, I'm not the only one doing this stuff. I've watched it with my own eyes. Him and I got in a fight for some reason. I don't remember. It wasn't that big of a deal. He pretty much, at the time, there was a girl in class who didn't like me, and he sent her the picture. And next thing you know, the picture with his penis in my face is all over. Everyone in class has it. It's printed out. Because, at this time, Facebook, all of that didn't exist. So people were printing it out and taping it on poles on the street, and they put it under my door at my house. They put it on people's doorsteps and their mailboxes. It's like the whole city knew about it. It was almost like when Kim and Ray J's sex tape leaked.
Now, after he took the picture, you guys was obviously still seeing each other.
We were in a fight at that time.
After the picture?
Before the picture. We got into a fight, and that's what made him want to start sending everybody the picture.
So if you guys got into the fight before, and then he showed you the picture.
No, not before he took the picture. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was like we got in a fight. He already had taken the picture, and then he started sending it to people.
Now, did you tell him to delete the picture?
Yeah, he said he did.
He did, and you didn't see him delete it.
Well, he had that picture for a long time. We hung out a bunch of times after that.
Okay.
So he lied about deleting it, and he held on to it for probably a moment like that when he got mad and he could show everybody. And I think it was more so to show off than to do something to me. But I don't think he realized how bad it was and how it would have affected my life. Until now, it still haunts me. It never went away. People still look at me and they know that picture. It ruined my life.
Are you a follower?
Am I a follower? And when you say that,
Just in your school days, your growing ups.
oh yeah. At this point, after that, hell no. After that, I think I was my own person. I think that's when I realized I'm alone and I'm okay with that. But I did have one friend who had my back. Because you could imagine, I lied about it. I said I was sleeping. I said that I was asleep. I was in 8th grade. Do you expect an 8th grader to be like, yeah, I gave a blowjob? No, I lied. I said I was asleep. And my friend, one friend, the girl who I 69'd with, she stuck up for me. She was like, she's asleep. I know she's asleep.
Now, this time, did you tell your mom? Mom knew about it?
I never admitted it till now. I may have admitted it later in life, but I don't know who particularly to. But if you want me to be honest, everyone who knew about it, this is when they're going to know the truth. I did it. I did it a few times. But yeah, I was a kid. I was ashamed. And I don't think I deserved for that to be put out in public. And like I said, that picture actually led to many more events. It actually, I think I wanted to almost embrace it and act like, hey, I have experience now. I'm good at it. And I thought me having that experience would make guys like me and want to be with me. I was wrong. So that was 8th grade. And you could imagine, once again, I had to leave the school because the school did not want to do anything about it. And you could imagine now, you could like get sued for that, like showing somebody's sexual pictures without their consent. But things were different back then. The school pretty much laughed. They were like,
The school.
yeah, No one did anything. They didn't investigate. They didn't look into it. They pretty much told my mom, like, it is what it is. Your daughter made a mistake. That's it.
What's going through your head at that time? Your picture is pretty much exposed to the neighborhood, the school, your friends, your family. What is going through Debb's head at that moment?
One thing I did for a long time, I would just try to forget about it. I would just try to stay strong and just keep it pushing because that's what you had to do. Because also, I was holding my ground saying that it didn't happen. And I didn't think playing the victim or crying about it was going to get me anywhere. Nobody was on my side at that point except that one friend and my mom. Also, my friends that weren't in that school at the time, they weren't sure what to think. So it was a lot because deep down I knew I made a mistake. But I just felt like it was kind of, like I said, something I was groomed into. I didn't necessarily want to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to be liked. And now everyone hates me. So it backfired for sure. It was a horrible decision.
Let me ask you something, Deb. Do you believe that that incident that happened when you were in elementary school with that girl affected your, your way through school?
Maybe. I think it made me misunderstand sex for sure.
Okay.
I think I was confused about sex for longer than I should have been because that happened and then the picture. And then it was kind of what I was known for. And I felt like it was almost like the only thing that made me worthy was giving myself away to people. I didn't know that I had anything else to offer. So I was definitely confused for a long time. And it took me years to realize that.
Later on, I believe it was your high school years, you took a trip. That trip consisted of two of your friends. Am I correct?
2000 and what?
That trip consisted of two of your friends. You going on a trip.
Yes. So now, prior to that, after the picture, I had hooked up with maybe two more guys. And there was a guy who I was dating who had transferred to the new school. So after the picture, I had to transfer back to the school that I transferred to after being molested. So I left that school and then went back. Does that make sense?
That school went up to middle school?
Yes.
Okay, got you.
So I was dating a guy who just transferred to that school. And when people found out, they told him about the picture. And then they also told him about the guy after that I had hooked up with because it was somebody's boyfriend. So once again, everyone knew about it. There was like girls showing up to my house to jump me, all of that. So there was some things to say about me. So they told him, "Do you know who you're dating?" And that's when I guess they told him whatever they said. And he tells me, hey, a lot of people are saying things about you. I don't want to be seen with you. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I was sad, but I didn't want to show it. And that's when my nickname started.
What was that?
Ooh, it's going to be weird to say it. That's when I earned my nickname, Debb Dirt. Ooh, it's so weird to say it out loud. It actually is. It kind of has a ring to it. Now I can see why people enjoyed saying it so much. But yeah, that nickname, I think it's still there. I don't think it ever left. I don't hear it as often, but it followed me for a long time. I think when he said it, I don't think he realized how it would stick and how it would affect my life. And when I got to high school, everyone knew Debb Dirt. It was not a fresh start. It was not a fresh start. Everyone knew who I was. I remember my first day of school, a girl from 2nd Street, she was like, wait, you're Debb Dirt. It almost felt like I was a celebrity. I would be walking down the street and voices that I don't recognize are screaming Debb Dirt. There was MySpace pages made about me, Facebook pages. I was on Wikipedia for a hot minute.
Wikipedia?
Someone
How's
put my
that?
name on Wikipedia. And they were like, the definition was like the most disgusting thing alive, like something like that. And people in school, they made my name an adjective. They'd say, that's so Debbie. That's so Debbie. But I tried to embrace it. I got a kick out of it. I'm like, wow, you people are like making a whole language out of me. I kind of enjoyed it. I think I actually laughed more than got upset. I kind of went back and forth with it. There were times where I'm walking down the street and I hear Debb Dirt and I'm like, yeah, you want an autograph? And then there's other days where I'm like, why is this happening to me? I don't know these people. These people don't know me. And there was points in time where I didn't even hook up with anybody. I was being a good girl. There was like at least times where I went a whole year without having sex or anything. I'm like, how am I a hoe if I ain't doing nothing? So, that's why I didn't really let it bother me as much as people would think it would. And I think it bothered people even more that it didn't bother me. People have always tried to bring me down. And I always come back on top, and it drives people nuts. So I have my fans. I have people who are constantly like, wow, you dealt with a lot. I don't know how you did that. I could have never done that. And then you got the people who will never give up. They'll never give it up. And that's fine, But I'm definitely someone who is misunderstood. So I feel like because of that reputation, people always felt like they could just treat me like trash. I've definitely had many situations where I was at parties and guys have tried to force themselves onto me, sometimes in a group, sometimes single, and people have witnessed it and stood back and just let it happen. And then they would try to turn it on me. And I had people lie about hooking up with me. I've had people set me up. steal from me, jump me. I just felt like no one really ever had my back, but it was almost like inhumane how people treated me. I know I may have done some things, but I don't think I deserve to be treated that way. Like, I really felt like if I were to kill myself, they would have just stepped right over my body and laughed. That's how it felt. So there were many times where people either tried to force themselves onto me, or there were times where I actually felt like I had to have sex with people to either avoid an awkward situation or a conflict, or because I thought that they would like me. And I just kept getting made fun of. It's almost like I was there for a distraction. Like, everybody wanted to talk about what I was doing to keep the attention off of them. Because I wasn't the only one doing these things. There were a ton of girls that were sleeping with people's boyfriends, sleeping with people for money, you know? And I think I was targeted as a distraction. Or maybe it's because only the guys were bragging about me. I mean, you don't hear guys bragging about bad sex, right? Maybe I was the only one doing it right. I don't know, but I've even had friends' dads try to do stuff with me. Couldn't go to their house ever again. How do you tell your friend that their dad tried to sleep with you? It's like I just was constantly sexualized from when I was in second grade till senior year. I was just pinned as this whore and somebody who didn't matter. It's like, just use her like an object. But I'm more than that. I'm a person with feelings. But when my mom died and my house caught on fire, people kind of stopped. They were quiet for a bit. They felt bad for me, you know. And then a few months later, everyone forgets about it and it picks back up. So, senior year, I was a cheerleader for a few years in high school. And I always had friends in different groups because I am outgoing and I'm a pretty cool person to talk to be honest. So you have a select few that give me a chance. So I always had random acquaintances. And I was friends with a girl on the cheerleading team. She also lost her mom. So we had that in common. And we would talk on the phone a lot. And we really connected. So she goes, "Hey, we're all going to the Bahamas for, graduation. Are you doing anything?" And at the time, like, my friend group that I had, they weren't doing anything. They never really did. And I wanted to do something. So I'm like, "Okay, you're going to the Bahamas. Like, who's going?" She's like, "Oh, just a couple people from our class." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So she gives me the info. She tells me how much it's going to cost. And then she tells me to pay this girl who was also on the cheerleading team, also a pretty popular girl in school, to pay her. So I go up to her to give her the money for the trip. It was like $1,500. We were staying in the Bahamas for a week. And when I go up to her, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to the Bahamas. Here's my deposit." I could tell by the look on her face, she was kind of like, "Oh, okay." You know what? She should have said right then and there not to come.
Well, who did she invite you?
My friend did,
Okay.
but I was paying the girl who organized it all.
Oh.
So when I went to go pay the girl who was organizing it all, I could tell by the look on her face, like, she wasn't thrilled about me going. And like I said, she should have said right then and there not to come, because it would have saved us all a lot of trouble, right? But no, people don't speak up. People are fake, right? They transparent as much as they want to say be real. You know, nobody wants that, right? They can't handle it. So now let's fast forward to the trip. Get to the airport. I'm looking, and it all hit me. I'm not on a senior trip. I just crashed a friend's trip. There were people not from my class, and to be exact, a lot of these girls hated me. Hated me. They were the girls that were screaming Debb Dirt. And I remember walking to the airport, and all I could remember, I heard, "Why is she here?" And I don't know if they were talking about me, but you know they were. So automatically, I could see the transition in the two girls' mood. And you could tell that they were not trying to be seen with me or stand with me. Like if I stood next to them, they would kind of move to the side, or if I talked to them, they would be very short with me. It's like, wow, that's not the energy you had before the trip. It's not the energy you had yesterday. Actually, that's not the energy you had in the car on the way here. But I ain't stupid. I know what's going on. So I already am like, this was a bad idea. So we get on the plane, and they're like, so we have 3 tickets. One is separate. Could we sit together? I'm like, okay, yeah. I had to sit next to like a few of the guys, whatever. I'm like, I already know how this is going to go. So we get there, and I was 17. My birthday's in August. And when you go out of the country, you still have to be 18 to drink, especially on a resort. And they give you a wristband. And if you're not 18, you get a pink wristband. And if you are 18, you get a green wristband. Well, I had a pink wristband. So I asked the girl, I'm like, hey, can you grab me a drink? Like, she's like, I don't want to get in trouble. Even though prior to the trip, she said that she would. So she was already going back on what she said prior to the trip. So I'm there to drink. I'm there to have a good time. And the only people that are offering to get me drinks are the guys. So I'm chilling in the pool with the guys. They're getting me drinks. We're having a good time. And I could just see all the girls looking over. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? None of you will get me a drink. What do you want me to do? So this is only a few hours in. I don't even think we were there for a whole 5 hours yet. I didn't eat at that time. I was embarrassed to eat in front of guys. I've struggled with an eating disorder for a while that I recently was able to fix due to my family being very strict with my eating habits and stuff. But I was very weird with eating in front of people, so I didn't eat. Not making excuses. But I was very drunk. Almost too drunk. I don't know if there was something in my drink or if if I just couldn't handle it. Either way. And me and a guy, we go to his room and we start fooling around. We go in the shower. It's fun, you know? We're in the shower, we're doing this and that. And, you know, we start doing it. And I hear the door open and someone comes into the hotel room. And it's his roommate, who is a guy who I actually hooked up with in the past. And these guys were known to like gangbang girls. There was at least 2 that I knew of that was going around school. And the guy gets in the shower and I said no. They were trying to double team me. And the other guy that I was already in there with was like kind of trying to get me to go for it. And I'm saying no. I'm like, no, no. But I was so drunk at this point, and pretty much it happened, but I don't know how. I don't want to call it rape, but definitely taken advantage of. Anyone in their right mind who saw me at that time knew I was not all there. I didn't know what was going on, but I promise I said no more than once. So I felt like I got a little ganged up on, and it happened for a little bit. And that's when I separated myself and I threw my clothes on and I ran out the room. And a bunch of people were in the hallway and they saw like my clothes hanging off of me. And I wasn't going to mention it. I already felt like the people I went with didn't want to be near me. And I knew the moment everyone knew, I could just hear people laughing and whispering. And I would walk by and everyone would just look at me. I was on a trip with a group of like 20 people and not one person wanted me there. And I was stuck with these people for a week and we were all, that was the first day. So the girls I went with never bothered to like pull me aside and be like, are you okay? What happened? Because if you ask me if a friend of mine did something like that and it was questionable and out of character, I'd be like, you good? Did they take advantage of you? Maybe it's the guys. Maybe it's not her. No one batted an eye. That's how much people wanted to believe that I was this person. It's like they thought I just walked up in there like, come on, let's do this. Like, you know, I think that's how people imagined it. They thought I pre-planned it. I was like the executor, the ringleader, like, all right, you two get in here, you're going to take turns with me. Like, no, that's never what it was. That's never what it was.
Do you feel like if you said something to someone that these guys did this, did that, that you wouldn't have a voice, no one will believe you? Judging by the past.
You know, that's a loaded question. I'm going to say no, because I think if they wanted to hear me out, they would have asked instead of just assuming. And that's, I think, what hurt the most, that not one girl thought for a second, you know what, let me talk to this girl. Let me see what's really going on. But everyone was like buddy with the guys. No one thought anything was wrong with that. It's just like, I don't know. I just think it's strange. I feel like the people that I surround myself with now would have questioned it. And that's why I believe I've always been isolated, to keep me away from these people that are so toxic.
Do you feel like the rest of the group that was there? I'm talking about the girls. Do you think they had a hint of knowing?
Well, there actually were a few people that made a point to be polite or spend time with me. I wouldn't say they really like went out of their way to like hang out with me, but like I remember the next morning, one of my roommates' boyfriend woke me up, and he's like, "Come on, Deb, we're all going on an excursion." I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be with these people. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep in. So I just pretended I was asleep while everybody was like getting ready. And he like starts shaking me. He's like, "Come on, Deb, and I'm like, I don't want to go. He's like, "Come on, Deb, you deserve to have fun too." So shout out to him if he's watching. And there were a few people that would say hi. And other than that, no one really like made a statement by being my friend. They all were very stern on keeping me out. One girl punched me in the back of the head at the club. They would laugh at me and scream stuff at me. Someone stole money out of my wallet. And the two girls I went with, they tried to get a separate room without me. And then the people at the hotel told them that they had to pay more money to make up, my difference. And I'm sitting there like, all right, well, I could get my own room. And they're like, "Oh, we can't afford it. I guess we're stuck with her." I guess they couldn't put their money where their mouth was.
They bluntly said that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And I said, and that's where at the time I was confused. I said, "You're mad at me for having sex with somebody?" They're like, "No, you had sex with multiple people."
Now you said that during the trip, correct? You're still on the trip.
Yeah.
So they knew that situation took place with you and the other guys?
I don't know what they thought, right? Because there's always, three sides of the story. There's one side, the other side, and the truth. I don't know what they know or what they think or what they were told. All I know is that I don't care, because they could have at least had the decency of asking me my side, and they didn't want to hear my side. They just wanted to believe whatever they heard. And to me, if you call me, like the one girl, I said we would be on the phone all night. We really connected. And for you to just not try to talk to me about what happened, that says enough. I don't need you in my life. I want people who are going to not only question me and want to hear my side, but I want people who aren't going to judge me. Who cares what I did?
Now, Deb, some people will say, okay, how can they assist you on far as getting your side of the story if you didn't tell your side of the story? So they could say, okay, well, you want them to assume that these guys did this, or do you want to actually tell them your story? So how can you, put them in a place where they can understand you if they don't know the story? They never heard that this happened to you.
I don't think unless you were there, you'll get it. It's one of those things where it's a mixture of, me being drunk, me not knowing how to get out of situations like that, and being very timid and not advocating for myself. Because you would think most people would say, well, if you didn't want to do it, wouldn't you have just punched him in the face? You want to say that,
Right.
but that's not always how it happens. And I think part of me almost already feeling isolated, I felt like maybe me causing a problem would have made it even worse when I was already in a bad situation. I don't expect anybody to understand, and I'm not really here for anybody to agree with me. I'm just telling my side, and that people really, due to my reputation, people felt like they could just use me as an object for years. And I almost accepted it because I never thought I was worth anything else.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like in life that you got your fear shot? Do you feel like you existing here on earth? Did you get like that fear start off as a kid to where you are now?
Did I get,
Do you get your so pretty much did you get a fear start off in life?
oh, okay. You know, it's a good question because I feel like when I say I didn't, it's really giving a big FU to people that did go through hardships and came on top. It's definitely possible to go through things and be successful, right? I've said a lot that I feel like I didn't get a fair shot. I did, but I really think it was meant to happen. I think I think my mistakes don't define me. I think what I learned and who I am now is what matters. And that's somebody who has inspired and will continue to inspire people. And that's all I want in life. I don't know, I can't picture my life any other way. I don't want that picture perfect. You know, what is that exactly? You see different friend groups, it looks all perfect. Relationships, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. I like being me. There are things I regret, but there's a lot of things I don't regret because it led me to who I am now. And I'm a badass, and I have a big heart, and I got balls of steel, and no one could tell me nothing.
What is one thing that you would want to tell that little girl back in the day? One thing.
You're worthy. You're worthy. I think I needed to hear that I was worthy of love, friendship.
My last question, Dad. What is one thing that no one know about you, but they should?
You know, that's a hard question. It sounds like an easy question, but one thing that no one knows about me that they should know. I care a lot more about people than it seems like. I think people see me as self-absorbed, selfish. I enjoy helping people. I don't judge people. I only judge you if you're doing things to hurt people, but we all make mistakes. We all have skeletons in our closet. But I would never make someone feel like they're less of a person for making a mistake. And I think people, I've done things that give off a vibe that I'm reckless and I don't care. That's not true. I really do have a big heart. And I would do anything for anybody. I would give you the shirt off of my back. I've given someone my last $10. They didn't even know it, you know? And that's one thing. Like, I think people are very confused about who I am, but I just want to be left alone, you know? Don't bother me, I won't bother you.
How's your mental health today?
Can you say that again?
How's your mental health today?
So I've been in therapy. I'm okay. It feels good to say that I'm okay, considering the circumstances, but I've been in therapy. I have people who care about me. I'm in a relationship right now, and he knows about my past, and he still loves me. And I have friends who care about me. And that's why I said, I think everything happened for me to meet people who actually genuinely care. Because all those other people talking, their friends would turn their backs on them in a heartbeat, right? But I got people that know everything about me, and they are so proud to call me a friend, a girlfriend, you know? And those are the type of people that I want to be around. People who still love me through the mistakes, through times where I'm not being myself, times where I mess up. I want to be around those people who don't give up on me. And the people that did give up on me, they taught me a lesson too. And I'm grateful because now I know how to treat people. I have standards on how I want to be treated. And I advocate for people who go through what I go through. I'm not no bystander. If I hear someone getting ganged up on or bullied, I will have their back and stick up for them. I don't talk about my friends, I tell them the truth if they need to hear something. That outfit don't look good. You shouldn't have did that. Sometimes people don't like it, but I'm the friend that I needed my whole life. And I'm the girlfriend that I want to be. I'm happy. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm in a way better spot than I was last year, the year before that. I try to better myself every day, and I'm proud of myself of how far I've come. And if no one else is, that's fine, because I know the real story.
My closing question. I know I said it was going to be my last. My closing question is, did you feel like you had a voice growing up?
That I had a
A
voice.
voice, yes.
I think you always do have a voice, but at the time you don't know it. I think a lot of people wanted to hear what Deb was doing, what Debb Dirt was doing, who Debb Dirt was sleeping with. But no one asked Debb Dirt. No one ever asked Deb. But Deb always heard about what she was doing. So I could have had a voice, but would anyone listen? Probably not. But I think it all played out the way it should have, because I have a voice now.